Hey guys, Sean here from the China Culture Corner. Today I wanted to revisit the topic I've talked about in previous videos, and that is, do you need Chinese language skills to effectively work in China? Alright, let's get into it. As someone who's made both my life and career in China, I've always been of the opinion that it's better to learn more Chinese than less. But at the same time, I also understand that many foreigners don't have that much time to learn Chinese, especially if they're coming to China for the first time, and of course they're going to be busy with life and work and other things. So I guess what it boils down to is if I'm saying you do need to learn Chinese, how much Chinese do you need to learn, and what are you going to be sacrificing if you don't learn Chinese? What problems are you going to cause for yourself? And so through my experience working with a number of different Chinese companies, both big and small, as well as seeing the impact that foreigners receive in Chinese companies when they know Chinese, when they don't know Chinese, I would say it boils down to three things they're sacrificing. They're sacrificing their control, they're sacrificing their efficiency, and they're sacrificing their ability to develop their careers later in life. So, these three items, let's get into it and talk a little bit more about them. Now, when it comes to the aspect of control, some of the things that are very simple, both in life and in work, are actually much more complex when you are, say, in a different country where you don't speak the native language. A key example of this would be things like work systems, work documents. If you don't, and this is very common for many Chinese companies, especially smaller ones, they don't have English equivalents. If you aren't able to speak a little Chinese, if you are able to read a little bit of Chinese, you maybe won't understand what you're signing, you won't understand or even be able to implement the internal systems or internal processes, and that means you're always going to rely on someone else. You're going to rely on someone else to tell you what everything means. You're going to rely on someone else to do some of these basic, but again, key tasks for you. And so, for me at least, that's one reason I enjoy being able to speak Chinese, is I'm able to understand what actually is happening, what actually is going on at my work, at my job. Now, when it comes to the aspect of work efficiency, I actually had a very interesting conversation a month or two ago with someone else on Twitter who works in China. And the conversation more or less went like this. I had been talking about the need to learn Chinese skills, and he had said, oh, well, foreigners are not recruited by companies to come to China to speak Chinese. They're actually recruited to come to China to do things like marketing, public relations in my case, or business development. But that's an interesting point, and technically, yes, that's true, but there's actually a much deeper consideration in that, yes, foreigners are recruited to come to China to do, for the professional skills. But that being said, if they aren't able to do their work efficiently and effectively, then it doesn't matter what their experience is. And so that's where my argument for learning the Chinese language comes in that if you aren't able to communicate with your team, if you aren't able to liaise with different departments, then you're going to have very low work efficiency, and you're either not going to be able to achieve your objectives to the satisfaction of your boss or department, or you're just going to maybe not get your contract renewed. And so it's an interesting consideration, I think, that everybody needs to take into account, because in the end, especially in high pressure work environments like tech, which I'm in, results are the only thing that matter. If you can't achieve results, then nobody's going to want you. And if you can't have high work efficiency, it's going to be much harder to achieve those results. So finally, one of the key aspects to why I think foreigners coming to China should learn Chinese is that it's very vital for career development these days, unless you are one of the most senior executives coming to a multinational. Everyone else, I think, would be well served by learning Chinese, both spoken and written, if they plan to at least spend a few years here. And here's one reason, is that previously in the past, when I've been changing jobs, when I've been looking for new opportunities, I've talked to a lot of different recruiters, and what I've always found in the last few years is that they have repeatedly emphasized the need to have Chinese language skills. And if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense. The China today in 2021 is not the same China that we had 20 years ago, where they were underdeveloped, they maybe didn't have talent. I mean, we have so many white-collar workers, college graduates, master's degree holders who speak more or less perfect English, or at least there's not really much of a difference. And you know, what it comes down to is they don't need people who speak English. They speak English, and they speak Chinese, and they often speak another language too, and they often have more or less the same professional skills, even if they lack some of the overseas working experience. So if foreigners aren't able to rise to that level, to where they not only have the professional experience, but they have the language and maybe even the cultural skills to work side by side effectively with their Chinese colleagues, bosses, or partners, then they're not going to be that valuable in the future for, say, Chinese employers or even foreign employers in China. And I think this is simply the way the market's been developing. It's the result of the Chinese economy continuing to develop, train skilled talent. And I would say if foreigners want to be a part of a career future in China, part of the Chinese market, they're going to have to learn those skills if they want to make a life for themselves here. In closing, if you're interested in coming to work in China, or if you're interested in continuing to work in China, remember that it's not impossible to work in China without learning Chinese, but you are going to be making clear sacrifices, which could include your efficiency, your control over your work and your life, as well as your ability to get future jobs in China or relating to China. And again, as I said earlier, every other white-collar worker in China is probably going to speak English, as well as potentially a third language and dialect as well. So, in closing, I'll simply say, as foreigners coming to work in China, what excuse do we have to not learn another language in order to be equals, to be on the same level as our Chinese colleagues? Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. If you're interested in learning more about China, business in China, Chinese culture, Chinese language, or even Chinese tech, which is the field I work in, please feel free to follow my YouTube channel, The China Culture Corner, or you can look at my blog, thechinaculturecorner.com, and I'll have a lot more information and insights for you. If you have a specific question or would just like to talk more, you can talk to me in the comments section, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at SeanUM_China. Alright, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.